told how to think. That
Uh,
it's each one of our rights to do that.
Yeah, so you can this Wabi Sabi philosophy. This you can describe this more ethical way that it's inviting without being naggy. You,
Right. It's an invitation. It's not a demand. It's
yes.
it's more of a question like, what would you like, instead of buy this now.
Okay.
I'm sure you've been exposed to, in your part of the world, just like we have here, those, for instance, car ads that are trying to get you to buy a car. And in our ads here in the United States, there's all these disclaimers tagged on at the end of the commercial that
Yes.
they speed up so you don't understand what they're saying. That kind of thing is completely unethical. I mean, anytime you have to sign a contract that's like 20 pages long, there's something wrong with that it can't be just put to you in plain language. Plain, simple. I agree to this, you agree to that, and that's the way it's going to be. It's just, we've reached this state of such ultra complexity. I try to teach my students, find the most essential information, find a way to present it beautifully, find a way to create meaning with it so that your audience finds it useful. And, I really believe you do that out of doing what you love. So I tell my students, if you don't love what you're doing, don't do it. Geez, don't. I
Yes.
mean, just don't do it. Do what you love in this world. That's your clue right there. It's what you're supposed to do. You don't need anything more than that. And then you kind of evolve it out of that.
Yes. I have one last question. Perhaps it's um, I have noticed that there are some strong trends in the design world among publishers, advertisers, and web designers and things like that. They all move in the same direction, even if they should do unique messages for each client. For example, a while it was very popular with this aqua pill design and glossy buttons and early 20th century wallpaper and brushed metal, and now this vector drawn lines, vines, which I also saw in this book, is very popular. And do you think it's dangerous to use this thing? Do you think a person that's just jumping on a trend and think that well, I'm maybe not unique, but at least I'm showing that I'm modern and with my time, do you think that person is wasting his or her money?
Software lets us do incredible stuff these days, and people only do it because they can.
Yes.
But, and I think software is a wonderful thing. I think technology is a great thing. Again, it's in how we use it. The danger I see with software, and actually what my class is the antithesis of, is learning how to do canned stuff. Now, while I think it's wonderful you need to learn to do canned stuff so you can take it beyond that, because what I teach is critical thinking. I teach students, my idea is the problem with a lot of software today is it's used as a substitute for figuring things out yourself. And yes, I think it is a danger to look at what the current trend is, excuse me, and copy that just because something is a trend does not necessarily make it good. It just makes it a trend.
Yes.
And so what I try to do is teach my students to really think through the problem they're trying to solve for their client, or, in our case, in class for the project. And what's the best way to solve this? My students are in their last week right now. Their final project is a big one. It's a poster that involves layering and connections between disparate things like images in Word, layering of hand-done and digital art, and it's a lot of complexity to put into a poster. So what I'm teaching them with this last piece we're doing after we've been through the entire book, which this semester was the first time I've taught it, and I'm preparing all sorts of ancillary products for other educators to use this in their classroom through what I've learned in doing it this first time out in the semester with my students. And by the way, I teach international students, so I do know that these principles do relate to everybody regardless of where they come from. They are
Yes.
universal for everyone. But I'm trying to teach them to work both with software and with their own hands. How do you get hands? The idea is to make things compatible, to create a relationship through compatibility. And this moves into the much larger expression of how do you make things that appear to be opposites work together. This is something we're trying to deal with in major problems that we have in the world today. And my contention is there are not opposites. There are complements. And we need to revise how we perceive things and understand just because something is coming from a completely different perspective than we may have does not make it wrong or bad. It simply makes it a different perspective. And that there's often very valuable things to learn in being able to encompass a larger perspective for designers and for the world at large.
Yes. So it's you should both have the old-fashioned analog tool and the digital tool, and try to be. It's a waste of money to just follow along trends.
Waste of money, waste of time. I mean, when you think about it, the bombardment that people experience means that if they've already seen your thing 3,000 times before you get yours to them, most likely, unless you've got some really unique thing connected with it, they're going to ignore it because they've already seen it. They know what it is, didn't have particular value for them, and there's no reason for them to even give it a second look.
Yes. Well, we run out of time, so I should give a big hand and say thank you to today's guest, Maggie Macnab.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed the interview very much.